And hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new venture in the world of horse racing, handicapping, and racing online shows. This is the Presque Isle Downs show. I am your host, John Piassek, and this is the first of 100 times we are going to be discussing the racing at Presque Isle Downs in the 2019 racing season there. Now, some of you may ask, why do I want to follow Presque Isle Downs this closely? Well, because people always really focus in on handicapping and playing bigger tracks. A lot of people always focus in on New York or Kentucky or California. Not many people really turn all their attention to smaller tracks, but people still play them a lot, or a lot, relatively speaking. Most of the money in those pools is pretty casual. So I'm thinking if I really focus in on a smaller track where I think the racing is pretty good, and I do like the racing at Presque Isle Downs, and I focus on just them, how well will I do? Well, we're going to find out that answer over the course of 5 months. Post time there is 5:25 p.m. on Monday through Thursday nights over most of the meet. They'll add Sundays, I believe, in July and August. And you'll find a new episode of the Presque Isle Downs show every race morning. I'll film them either early in the morning or late at night, and I'll post them up. And then you have about 7 hours to check them out prior to the start of the race day. This show is not necessarily going to focus on my top picks. I just want to kind of have a discussion about the races, kind of profile top contenders, talk about how the race is going to possibly set up, things like that. However, if you want express top picks, they're on my website at dailygallop.net. Check them out there. I'll also be sending them in to Stable Jewel. So if I just cut to the chase, you can find those. But hopefully, we'll have a good discussion about every card at Presque Isle Downs. And if I can help you pick some winners, or make some money, or make you laugh because you think I suck, all the better. So here we go. First of at least 800 races at the 2019 Presque Isle Downs meet is a non-winners of 3 claiming affair. This is for 4-year-olds and up going 1 mile, and I think this race pretty much comes down to 3 horses. Number 2, Ron Potts, trainee First Reward, has had some races under his belt this year. Now, I should note here, most horses, well, not most, but a lot of horses racing in the first week of Presque Isle Downs are coming off very long layoffs. Horse population at Presque Isle Downs is pretty insular. There's a lot of horses who only race there and nowhere else. As such, opening week, you are going to see a lot of horses coming off of very long layoffs. It's not a bad thing. In fact, last year, about half of all the races on opening week were won by horses who had not yet started in that calendar year. So you can't automatically throw out a horse just because they're coming off a long layoff. That being said, it is nice if a horse has recent races. This one has raced 3 times. All 3 of them came at Tampa Bay Downs on the turf course. Didn't do anything there. He had very similar races last year at Presque Isle, in which he stalked the pace in mid-pack, looked like he was about to make a move, and then just kind of fall flat in the stretch. His speed figures, fantastic. His late pace figures on the Brisnet scale were great. I'm just not completely sold that he'll have that closing punch needed to win, and I think it's more likely than not he goes off as the favorite, second choice at I think bare minimum, and I can't buy into him because I know if I bet him, I don't want to watch him make a move and then just flatten out in stretch. Then I'm like, come on. Like last year, he raced 7 times at Presque Isle Downs. He won once against Pennsylvania Bred Allowance Company, in which he chased a loose leader who came back to him. There's nobody else good in that field, and he ended up winning going away. When facing off against tougher competition, he kind of struggled, so I'm a little skeptical of him. Number 4, Atlantic Sun. Rodney Brown trains Willie Martinez is up. This one has not raced since last September, in which he tried to wire and allowance optional claim field. Couldn't quite do it. He looks like lone speed on paper. There's really not a lot of horses who can go with him. Obviously, lone speed is a dangerous thing. At Presque Isle Downs, I've been told, especially in route races, it is extremely dangerous. Of course, we are going to find that out as our little um, project goes on, but I think Willie Martinez should be aggressive with him, try to send him from post 4, and hopefully just keep on going, and I think he could be overlooked in the betting. Number 5, City Plan has a lot of back class. He won the Gold Rush Stakes over the Peter track at Golden Gate Fields as a 2-year-old, was briefly on the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Trail, lost the front runner by a lot. In fact, jumped on the Derby Trail in 2018, came in second in the El Camino Real Derby behind Paved. Obviously had some kind of trouble because he didn't show up again until October 1st at Presque Isle Downs. Had been competing against allowance horses most of last year. Now comes off a bit of a layoff. He last race on April 10th at Tampa Bay Downs, came in 7th on the turf course, and now goes into a non-winners of 3 claiming. Now it's entirely possible that trainer Owen Hardy wanted to have him in a bigger spot, and the race he was aiming for just didn't fill. That's a possibility. I'm not quite sure though if I'd want to take him in a non-winners of 3 claiming, as I think he is likely to be claimed, and that could be what Owen Hardy and Godolphin want, not necessarily a good sign. And of course, Owen Hardy is a named trainer. However, he did not have a great meet at Presque Isle Downs last year, and in fact, so far in 2019 is hitting at only 8%. That being said, City Plan should have a good stalking trip, should rate in about 3rd or 4th, just off the pace. Hopefully, he won't let Atlantic Sun get too far away. Workouts lately have been good. Had a workout at Arlington Park over their synthetic track on May 2nd, so he looks like a pretty strong contender in here as well. So 2, 4, and 5 are going to be the ones you want to focus on in race number 1. Race number 2, now is a 2 claiming field, fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up, 5.5 furlongs, field of 7 lining up here. It is exactly what you'd expect in almost a 2 claiming field to be. That is to say, not that great. Number 3, Rookie's Girl. From a speed figure standpoint, she is a huge standout in this group. The last out Brisnet figure is a 67. When it comes to last out figures on dirt or synthetic, she has a 12-point edge over the second highest figure and a 20-point edge, as I look at my notes, 20-point edge on the 3rd highest. And that was not a fluke figure either. She earned a 67 in that race, came in 3rd place while trying to close ground against similar horses in a route race last September at low odds. Prior to that, had run figures of 65 and 70. Nobody else in the field has really shown the ability to do that on a consistent basis. She was coming off a long layoff, but as I noted, long layoffs not necessarily a bad thing at this time of the year. She had a good workout at Thistledown on April 27th, went 3 furlongs in a sharp 36 seconds, and that does qualify as a bullet workout. She is the morning line favorite. Would not be surprised if she was odds on. Obviously not worth betting to win if she's odds on. But if you want to play a pick 3 or a pick 4 and you're looking for a single, this is probably the best horse to single with. If you want to try to beat her, which I don't know if I recommend, but if you want to try to do it, I think the best bet is number 6, Miss Mission, lightly raced 3-year-old filly. Broke a maiden here last year with Jose Ortiz of all people, riding one by 2.5 lengths at 5 furlongs going away. Tried very deep waters against Stakes Company at Churchill Downs in the Debutante Stakes and got blown away. Showed speed and faded against Lowndes Company 2 months later. Now makes her 2019 debut against an extremely weak field when compared to what she had been facing. If she goes back to the promise that she had as a 2-year-old and she takes a step forward at 3, she's got a pretty good case to win this race. So just to kind of sum up my thoughts here, I think Rookie's Girl is the most likely winner. However, Miss Mission is a good alternative if you want to find an alternative. Race number 3, Pennsylvania bred maidens going 5.5 furlongs, field of 8 with 7 betting interests. And there are 2 first-time starters in this field. As some of you might know, because I talked about it on Twitter a lot last year. Also, if you found this not on Twitter, and you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at thereoff. I post opinions of questionable value. Anyway, um, I'm not crazy about betting first time starters in older horse races because generally they lose a lot because experience is a big factor. However, I will offer the caveat that if um, no one else in the field has shown a lot of ability, maybe that's the time to play a first time starter because, they're an open book, and as long as they show anything at all on debut, they have a good chance to win. There are two firsters in this field. Number two, Bad Medicine, Rory Barrett, first time starter, purchased at the OBS sale in January for $6,500. Has had three workouts, two of them at Presque Isle Downs. Both of them were decent, went 4 furlongs in 48 and 3 seconds. However, he's only had three workouts in his entire life under his belt. He may still be a little green and couldn't eat a race. Same is doubly true of number 6, Signs of Greatness, a 5-year-old first-time starter for David Markgraf. Angel Stanley picks up the mount on this one. This horse has also been working out well, but he's only had 2 workouts, and in fact, at this time last month, had not even had a timed workout in his career. I will be interested to see if any of these take action. If they go off as one of the favorites, it could mean that their connections like them and it could be worth the bet. As far as the horses who have raced go, most of them have raced badly in their lives. The only two who have shown a glimmer of hope, as it were, are two horses in the Ronald Rogers entry. The one, Joyville, has recency, showed speed and faded last time out against Maine Special Weight Company at Charlestown, an open maiden race that was. I think a good recent figure there of 64. It's the best last out figure in the field by 8 points. Stephanie Sharowski gets aboard. She's not been having a great year, only 1 for 89 so far, and last year at Presque Isle Downs only rode one winner, but that one winner has got to come sometime, and it could be with this one. The 1A is Joe Flash, really well backed in his debut last September. Showed speed there, had to check up on the backstretch and faded away. Now against first time Lasix, has had some good workouts. He did show some promise in that first race. Would not be surprised if he took a big step forward. So either half of the entry has a pretty good shot there. Also worth looking at is a New York innovator. That's number 7, Lynn's Boy. He tried his luck in maiden claiming races at Aqueduct all winter long. They all went pretty badly. He tried the turf last time out. A visually unimpressive race. However, he earned a pretty good figure of 69 in that spot. Prior to that, he had earned figures in the mid to low 60s racing on turf in the past. Will now try the synthetic for the first time in his life after a whole string of tries on dirt that didn't work out. If he likes the turf, though, generally turf horses can transfer their form over to synthetic pretty well, at least based on casual anecdotes. Obviously, we are going to find out a closer version of what is actually true in the next few weeks. That's the assumption I'm going on for now. So it's very possible that he is going to take to the synthetic, and if he does, he profiles as a contender. Race number 4 on the card, $5,000 claiming field. Non-winners of 2 in 2018-19 or non-winners of 1 in the past year, or basically anybody who has not won at least 2 races in the past 18 months is good to go. Here we got a field of 9, and it's a competitive one. Number 2, Nice and Easy, another horse coming off a long layoff. Yeah, he looks like a classic speed and fade type. He tried this level 4 times in a row. Wrapping up the meet last year, came in 4th, 5th, 2nd, and 3rd. Earned great speed figures every time, and in fact, he's the only one in this group to have earned wristband figures in the upper 70s with any level of consistency. He is going to be my top pick in Daily Gallop and Stable Jewel. It is such a wide open field, though. I will not take low odds on him. I think 4 or 5 to 1 is a pretty good price. He'll have speed on the outside in form of number 3, Victory Bringer. This is an interesting horse because if you looked at just his running lines, he looks like he has no chance because he always shows speed and then he backs up very, very badly. However, last year he was racing almost exclusively in routes. Now he's cutting back to 6 furlongs. So at some point, the light bulb went on, and his people decided to stop trying to make him go 2 turns. Let's see if he can do better at 1 turn. I think he can. If he can show speed, if he can shake off nice and easy, and also he takes the lead. Number 1, who has speed on the inside, definitely a possibility. Number 5, Jose Seaview, Gerald Brooks trains. Antonio Gallardo, one of the top jockeys last year at Presque Isle Downs, makes his first appearance of the meet on this one. He was racing at Charlestown all winter. Didn't do too much in there. However, last time out, he had a terrible trip. He was 5 wide the entire way around when going 6.5 furlongs. Of course, Charlestown is only 6 furlongs around. That means he was going around 2 turns. He was 5 wide on both turns, and you cannot do that. Otherwise, you are going to lose. And he lost by 4.5 lengths. If you take that race out, he's got figures in the 70s just about every time. If the pace is fast, he's got a good closing style. And if everybody on the front end melts down, he could be in a great spot to take advantage. Would not be surprised if he went off as the favorite. Last one I'm going to profile here is number 9, another for Mario. Has not raced since a disastrous outing at Mahoning Valley on November 5th of last year. He showed speed and giving way badly, lost by 24 lengths. Looked as if he was rounding into form at the end of last year. He had earned figures in the upper 70s, and then we had a big race when losing against Nominals of One Allowance Company by 4 lengths on closing night last year. That was October 4th. Now tries a little bit easier company in his 2019 debut. He's another one who should come the pace on the outside. Hopefully, Mario Pino, a legendary jockey, making his first ride of the year. Hopefully, he still knows some stuff. I trust that he does, and he'll keep his mount just off the pace. Hopefully, make a move at the end and chase down any loose leaders. Race 5 coming up here. We got a new camera angle. That way now you can actually see what's behind me. And also, it is time. Billy pick 4 at Presque Isle Downs. Always a great wager. Always has pretty decent pool sizes, especially on Mondays and Tuesdays. I don't give out tickets though because that's not my style, and sometimes I don't like a sequence, so I won't give out a ticket. In fact, I've always said, if you look at a pick 4 sequence and you find that you were better off playing a pick 3 or even a double within that sequence, oftentimes you are better off taking all that money that you had planned on spending in that pick 4 and using it to really crush a strong opinion as opposed to spreading out on a weaker opinion. Race 5, open maidens, fillies and mares, 3 olds and up, and by open, of course, I mean not Pennsylvania breds like we saw in race 3. Good field of 9 here. Number 3, Peace Corps, a $270,000 purchase as a yearling out of the Fasig-Tipton sale at Saratoga. Was 3-5 in her debut at Delaware Park last year and did not really run a step after a bad beginning. Graham Motion then tried it on the turf at Saratoga, didn't do much there either. Has now had some time off, has been working out very steadily at Fair Hill ever since February, so she has clearly been primed for this spot. Now finally comes back, tries a synthetic track for the first time, expecting big things out of her, especially if she improves off of that figure at 2. While they were not impressive races visually, from a figure standpoint, and when it's not a great maiden field, even if she goes back to her form as a 2-year-old and does not improve at all, should still win this race. If she takes a step forward, all the better. It'll be just fine with me and her backers. However, I do expect her to be a short price as she is owned by West Point Thoroughbreds, trained by Graham Motion. That means people are going to be plunging on her. Number 5, Light of congrats, a first-time starter for Linda Rice. The only first-time starter in the field. However, Linda Rice is especially potent with any horse that she sends up to Presque Isle Downs. She had 13 starters at the meet last year and won with 5 of them, with 4 more runner-up finishers to boot. This horse has been working out at Beaumont Park pretty steadily ever since late March. Now comes up here. Has not had a workout since April 28th. I guess Linda figured that she would take a shot with this filly in a little bit of an easier spot. Does run in Peace Corps, but Linda Rice, as I noted at Presque Isle Downs, is dangerous. Antonio Gallardo picks up the mount. Always a good sign. This one, even though she is a first-time starter, profiles as a contender. Number 8, Gotta Fly, is the other horse I'm going to touch on here. Debuted at Oaklawn Park for a tag back in April. Had a rough beginning in that race. Ended up kind of making a re-rally and then faded away and lost by 10 lengths. In spite of that, who figure was still pretty good. I know Adiel Ayala has not been having a good start to the year. However, he had a great meet last year at Presque Isle Downs, so he may only be 146 in the program. However, don't let that fool you. He is a competent jockey, and I would trust him with this mount. So he's a bit of a long shot play here. I think with Peace Corps and light of Congrats getting most of the money, this one could end up falling through the cracks, and she would be a bettable price if that happened. Race number 6, a very competitive non-winners of 1 other than allowance field of 11, 10 betting interests. A lot of the horses are coming off layoffs. A lot of things can happen here. This is if you really want to play the pick 4, this is a good leg to spread in. Number 2, that's Buckbeak. Has been trying similar company all year long. Last year, of course, at Presque Isle Downs. That is, he has not been seen since October 4th, which he tried this level. Didn't do anything there, came in 5th. He always earned speed figures in the low 80s. That cannot be said for anyone else in here, or most other horses in here. His ceiling is not that high, as in, you kind of have an idea of what he's going to do. He's not going to really freak and run a race that's going to blow everybody away, but it's unlikely that he's going to drop down that far and really struggle. He won twice last year. Both times he was near the pace, expecting the same thing from post 1. Number 3, Get Your Mind Right, has early speed and post 2. That's Buckbeak, has shown speed in the past, but he didn't show much of it in his last few races last season. As such, I don't know if he's going to challenge Get Your Mind Right for the lead. I fully expect Pablo Morales to be aggressive with him. He broke his maiden in a very game effort at Turfway Park in February. He had a clear lead, looked like he was beat in to stretch. However, kept battling back and ended up being a good maiden field by a nose and a good dress net figure there of 83. Tried allowance company at Keeneland on the turf. He may have been in over his head there, and he ended up losing pretty soundly. Now faces easier competition. Pablo Morales jumps aboard and looks like a strong contender. Number 8, Miami Smuggler, has the highest last out figure in the field for Ronnie Allen Jr., who rode him over the winter at Tampa Bay Downs. Takes a bit of a step back up in class after making a mile rally against non-winners of 2 company last out. Looks to be in mid-pack. He's got kind of up and down form, although his figures have held steady. He won the only race of his career last year at Presque Isle Downs, having a great trip, stalking the pace, and blowing by the field again in a maiden race back in mid-September. Number 1, I'm Corfu. One half of the Wayne race entry. Adrian Cox is in the saddle, and she is named on both I'm Corfu and the other half of the entry. Rapid ET, unclear at the moment which horse is going to go. I don't think that Wayne intends on running both if he named the same jockey on both. However, I do think I'm Corfu is the stronger half of the entry. He benefited last time at Keeneland. He was on that speed bias track. He zoomed out to the top post 5 and managed to hold on. However, he did have good form last year, ran a lot of great figures, showed speed in a lot of his races. Didn't always hold on, but he was always in the picture and picked up plenty of checks. That race at Keelan, I thought, is a good belt tightener kind of race. I don't think I mean, it's obviously not a bad thing that he won. He did get a the benefit of that speed by his track, but I imagine Wayne. He runs a lot of horses at Keeneland in spring. A lot of them lose. Everybody laughs at him, but he's not always intending to win. I don't think. I think he's gearing up for the Presque Isle Downs meet. He races almost nowhere besides Presque Isle Downs, and he figures, all they got to do is show a little ability. If they win, it's just icing on the cake. And the final one I'll profile is number 10, Ready Cat, who figures to come from far behind, as he did just about every time out last year. He won his last race of the season, came from 2.5 lengths behind, with Nathan Vickers in the saddle, who interestingly jumps off of him in favor of that Buckbeak while Pino picks up the mount. He's in post 11, however, he should be able to drop over to the inside, as he's definitely not a need to lead type, far from it, in fact. So he'll drop over to the rail. Hopefully, for his sake, we got a good pace to run at. He's got great late pace figures, and even if he does not win, he's an excellent candidate to hit the board. In fact, he is 14 for 20 in the top 3 at Presque Isle Downs in his career, with 2 victories. So if you are playing trifectas or superfectas, he's a great horse to use in at least one of the underneath spots. Race number 7, open $8,000 claimers here, going 6 furlongs. These are some of my favorite types of races to watch. I love watching those hard-knocking veterans go at it. And we've got the perfect example of one in here. That is number 4, L77. He's 11 years old. He's won 13 times. He won 3 in a row to end his campaign at Presque Isle Downs last year, including a win at this exact level back on September 19th, which he rated off the pace and grounded by under Pablo Morales to get the job done. Tim Gertland, another guy who races only at Presque Isle Downs. 21% with horses off a 90-day layoff. This horse has had some great recent workouts, including a sharp 4 furlong drill in 47 seconds back on May 3rd. Looks like Tim has got this one in position to fire a big one first off the bench. The 5, Jersey Street, has had a bit more recent experience. He was most recently the winner of a $5,000 claiming race at Tampa Bay Downs back on March 16th. Earned a big figure there of 84. That's the best that he's earned in recent times. Scott Speed jumps aboard, or looks like he'll be able to rate off of the pace. In his last few starts prior to that, though, against Tougher Company, he rated off the lead. He made those big moves, and he couldn't quite close it out at the end. Last time, obviously, he did finish it out, but that was against a worse playing field. In my opinion, it was a restricted claiming affair. This is now an open claiming group. In fact, Jersey Street, if he was entered $5,000 in the race earlier on the card, he'd have a much better chance. But obviously, he does not fit that condition. He's got to go up to class ladder. He goes in for the open $8,000 tag. Nevertheless, he's got a good stalking style and the best last out figure. Looks like he's in sharp form and cannot be discounted. Number 6, Wild Winter. Another horse who's got some good recent form. He figures to close from far behind. Always runs figures in the upper 70s. Makes his third start off to the layoff after facing Tougher Company most of the winter at Tampa Bay Downs, where he was not a factor. He was finally dropped in for an open $8,000 tag. Made a good move in the stretch. Ended up flattening out late. That was going 6.5 furlongs. Now cuts back to 6. Think he'll like that distance a little bit more. In fact, he was at 6 and 7 furlongs a lot of the year, and just could not get it done. He'd always make a good middle move and then end up falling flat. If jockey Mike Allen can time out his move correctly, he's going to be in pretty good shape. All right, and we go 7 down, 1 to go on opening night here at Presque Isle Downs. $5,000 claimers. They are restricted. The distance is 6 furlongs. Number 2, Thunder's Roland, another horse ridden by Pablo Morales, a one-time $330,000 purchase. That was a long time ago, though. It doesn't matter now. He actually lost to L77 last time out, way back on the 4th of September last year. His last 5 figures have all been in between 77 and 81. He's another hard-knocking, consistent sword who should stalk the pace and make a move on the inside. Trainer Eduardo Rojas, 21%. First off that long log, he got some good bullet works at both Presque Isle Downs and Penn National. He got back on the work tab at the Penn back on April 4th, went 4 furlongs in a solid enough 47 and 3/5 seconds. And as long as he's got those good works under his belt, I can bet with confidence that he's going to run back to his old form. Number 1, Our Smoking Hero, Mike Allen jumps aboard this one too. Another consistent claiming sword. Last seen at Thistledown back on October 10th. He doesn't have quite as many good workouts. In fact, he's only got one workout since that last race so very long ago. I think he could need a race. However, if he runs well at all here, I think it's going to be a good sign for him going forward. He'll have that belt tightening, and he had good enough form last year that, again, if he shows up at this level, he could be pretty tough. Number 8, Save the Drama. Hubert Villagomez jumps aboard this one, kind of alternated last year in between routes and sprints. His only win came in a sprint in an open $8,000 claiming affair, in which he was on the pace, ended up drawing away for Pablo Morales, who now jumps off of him here. And Scott Spieth had also been running him last year, and he jumps off him too. Nevertheless, his form was good enough that I think he's got a pretty good chance. He should press the pace from the outside. If Hubert Villagomez is aggressive enough, he could send him to the lead from post 8, and that could bode very well for him. Finally, number 9, Toast to Kitten, one who's going to be coming from far behind, was against non-winners of 4 claiming company last year. Not quite sure how that compares to the non-winners of 2 in 18-19 class at Presque Isle Downs. Of course, we are going to find out all that information, and if you think I'm just rambling on about nothing, I promise you I will be taking notes on trainers, jockeys, trips, classes, things like that, and hopefully in a week or 2 we're going to have more information at our disposal. That is what this project is all about, because I want to be a great source on Presque Isle Downs. Anyway, back on topic. This horse did win at Presque Isle Downs 3 starts back on August 30th, was taken down. Sad trombone there. And it actually helps him fit that class, because if he had not been disqualified, he would have had 2 wins in 2018-19, and he would have won 2 races over the past year, so he wouldn't have fit. So if he ends up winning this race, his people can retroactively thank the stewards from a long time ago. Should rate off the pace. Eddie Dominguez is going to have to try to save as much ground as he can with him on the outside, but if he can keep him in the 4 or 5 path on the first turn, he should be okay. Those are my opinions on opening night at Presque Isle Downs. Hope I was able to lend some insight to the card. Post time is 5:25 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I will see you tomorrow, or at least I think Tuesday morning. Yeah, Tuesday morning it is going to go up a brand new episode of the Presque Isle Downs Show. Follow me on Twitter at They're Off. If you want my opinions on every single horse in the field, not just the ones I touched on here, find them at The Daily Gallop, also on Twitter at Stable Jewel, and I'll be retweeting those at my personal account, which once again is at They're Off. Best of luck on opening night at Presque Isle Downs.